What's up, guys? Good morning. It's your boy James Livingston back here yet again, giving you guys some market analysis on the overall market. Mostly are ones that we usually follow: SPY, QQQ, IWM. Gonna stick to those ones this morning. Just want to say appreciate all you guys for being so patient with me this last week. I know I didn't post at all last week. I actually have been dealing with pneumonia. Just starting to now feel a little bit better. Still like a little bit of a cough left over, but for the most part, I think I am pretty much back to normal for the most part. I am rocking the Vikings sweatshirt because the Minnesota Vikings did catch a W yesterday, so I'm pretty hyped about that. It was a good win. I know the Giants aren't particularly a great team right now, but a win's a win, so I'm going to be happy with it regardless. But let's get right into the market here, guys. Looking over SPY, QQQ, and IWM first and foremost. So I do have obviously a lot of marking on here. As I always say, we do have the Discord community, Alpha Stocks Lab. Please, 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 if you're not a part of a community, if you don't have a community to kind of hang on and ask questions, etc., definitely highly recommend. I mean, you can see the amount of markings I have on my chart here. This is just from last night and going over, a lot of this with the Discord. So if you want to see, what all this is about, definitely join into the Discord so you can get weekly preparation every single Sunday evening. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the drawings because I like to start fresh. I like to give you guys kind of my fresh look at the market. Overall, obviously, last week was absolutely bearish red, another pullback week as we've had in the past. But overall, we haven't yet broken the trend. The trend overall, weekly, daily, I guess mostly weekly, is still intact. We're still riding that 20 AMA very well, not really dipping under it yet. Obviously, we are just starting this week, so we'll see what happens. We have CPI this week, PPI this week, and I believe consumer sentiment on Friday. So we have some market moving data, especially Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll see what happens here as the week goes on. But daily wise, if we're just looking at strictly the charts and what we can see here, we do know that we had this gap right in here that did get filled. We had the gap filled down to the 544 level on SPY. It looked like as soon as we broke that, I think it was like 548 there on Friday, that it was just an absolute meltdown. Price action just continued to drip and fill up that kind of imbalance in the market, if you will. So as of right now, not trying to predict too far. There is possibility for just a little more downside. It just all depends, honestly, I think, on the data and how the market reacts to it. If we're just looking at strictly levels for this session here, let me go ahead and get rid of this gap because we don't really need to concern ourselves with it. I was telling the Discord last night at about 542, that kind of intraday high, if you will, that intraday level that we continued to bounce off of right here was my level in the morning to watch for calls. Obviously, this is all subject to change as the days go on, and we couldn't necessarily see what pre-market was going to bring, but a nice gap up on the market, which again, after such a meltdown, was almost to be expected that we'd have a little bit of a relief bounce. This doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to go higher and higher. It just means that, again, the market is getting some relief. We just melted off about what, $10–13 in the span of 9 hours trading time, so it was, again, due for a bounce. Now, last night, that 542 level was that level for me to watch for upside. At this point, obviously we're above that, so at this point we would look for the next level. I did point out last night that that 545 kind of area, it did seem like the next possible resistance if we broke 542. It looks like we're kind of trending around that right now. Now, something to note, pre-market on Friday, we did have this kind of section here, this almost zone of accumulation. It is lining up really nicely with how this 200 EMA is going to swoop down here this morning. So I do anticipate that if we do get a pop to the upside, there could be some resistance. As you can see, that 200 has not been broken in quite some time. So I don't expect it to get broken just quite yet, especially not on a day without news. But you never know. This area, I am kind of watching for possible rejections in the general 546, maybe as high as 547. So again, playing with the charts is going to give us, but I do anticipate if we get a pop that we could see some rejection in there. At this point, 542 is now going to act as a support, or try to act as a support. The first level to break down below is going to be 543. I think 543 can give us the push down into the 542, 541.50 area, kind of into this little liquidity zone here. Draw that out. So 543 at the moment is what I'm looking for downside on SPY, and then 545, like I said, for the push to the upside. The upside push, though, is very thin, so if you are taking pushes to the upside for calls, would definitely get out of those as soon as possible. Don't be overstaying your welcome, especially if you're playing 0DT, 1DT, 2DT, 3DT. Anything weekly on SPY, I would not stay in long as far as call side just yet. There's still not enough indication that we are switching it back up yet. But that's the levels there for SPY. If we do break the 543, I think we fill this gap back down, most likely to what looks like 538s. Yeah, 538.60-ish. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at there. So that's SPY, guys. We'll go on over to QQQ. We're going to have a very similar story here on QQQ. Again, I already had some markings from the class last night. So let's go ahead and get rid of those right quick. Very bearish continuation candle right here. We have a very strong push down on the daily. If we're going in here, we can already note that down here around the 200 EMA on the daily is about 439.30, 439.50-ish. So we are going to be watching that if we break down below Friday's low at about 448, that we could possibly see 440 to 439 area get touched next as the next support. But as we were just talking about on SPY, we do currently have the little bit of a gap up. The area that I was using as kind of that call or upside push has already been broken at the moment. So we'll see if it holds. Like I said, targeting on the upside here, these pre-market from Friday, the pre-market lows there, that would be the target for the upside in my opinion. As far as levels to break at the moment, you're looking at about 453.40-ish, 453.50 could give us that nice push up into the 455, 456 range. Again, understanding that come morning open or market open, this 200 EMA on the 15 should kind of be in that zone, so it's likely that we might see some kind of hesitation here. I'm not saying a full-on rejection, but at least a little small cool down. So that's what I'm looking at there. As far as downside, to start entering the gap, we're going to be looking at that 452 level. 452 breaks down, we can possibly see as low as 450, but ultimately we do now have this bigger gap, I should say, from Friday night here into Monday morning. So we have all this gap that we can potentially fill down to 446.75, but it'll all really be contingent on not only breaking that 452 level, but then also starting to push down, and really the 450 psychological level is the spot we need to break to get that push back down to the downside. So we got some nice margins here. They did close our upside potential up a little bit here with that gap up, but overall there's moves that we can make. Now, IWM is kind of still stagnating around that area that we identified last night in the Discord. Get rid of this downside level for now. But you can see this upside level that I had, it was about 208.70, 208.75-ish. Again, just identifying these kind of key levels right here in the middle of the day, rather, from Friday, where price action just could not get over. You can see a very clear and concise zone here that price action could not get back over. So that would be the target area at the moment to break for upside. So at the moment, the upside level for IWM still stands as far as the 208.76, 208.75. Downside, like we were talking about with gaps here, 208. Looks like about 208.17, 208.15 should give us the start to the break to start filling us down towards 207 flat, if not lower. But IWM, again, if we break to the upside, target area is going to be up towards those pre-market lows there from Friday, which again should line up pretty nicely with that 200 EMA on the 15-minute. So around 210, 210, 211 psychological levels makes sense. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, guys, we have, you know, NVDA. I think all of the Magnificent 7 right now are fairly green in pre-market with a nice bounce. NVDA levels, we did kind of go over them. As far as NVIDIA, I'm just going to quickly go over this. We did identify that we have been in this zone, or we are in this range rather, all of last week up until that meltdown on Friday. So it's likely that after we break out of this range that we need to retest the bottom of it before we can actually, continue down lower. As of right now, it is tracking pretty nicely for that retest. You can see a very clear and concise trend line up towards that area. It is in an uptrend, technically an uptrend, an upward channel, I should say, towards that zone. So around 105 to 105.30-ish would really be lenient on going upside on this. I don't think the upside potential on NVIDIA is quite there yet. I think we need to get back into this zone, and the main level for NVIDIA that I'm waiting for to break out is this 107.75. You can see that we clearly had a resistance there all week last week, and could not get back really above it without melting back down. So if we get one more touch of that 107.77, 75, I think there's a good chance that we can actually see that push out of the range toward the upside, which we do have a lot of room. But as of right now, it is leaning downside. Like I said, breaking the range underneath. Now we're consolidating up towards it. Let's see what happens at 105, 105.30-ish. Let's see if we can't break back down lower. I think you'll have a confirmed breakdown under 103 at this point. Break under 103, I think, gives us the push down towards the $100 psych level and likely lower. So that's about it, guys. That's going to cover the market here this morning. Again, we do have CPI, PPI on Wednesday, Thursday. So while that's not today or Tuesday, should keep in consideration the market could stay fairly neutral for the most part. Maybe some quick sweeps up or down. But overall, I don't expect any big moves the next 2 days outside of maybe some relief bounces or continuation to the downside. So yeah, like I said, guys, I appreciate all of your patience in me getting well and getting back to, I guess, the ability to speak, because I couldn't really, every time I would breathe, I would essentially cough. So on the top of my breath, I would cough, and then it's just like I have to breathe, at the end of the day. So talking was not really an option. But thanks for bearing with me. We'll get right back into the market here this week, start pumping out some more content for you. And like I said, if you don't have a Discord to be a part of, Alpha Stocks Lab, join us. Down in the description, there's a link to join. I guarantee you're going to get your money's worth out of joining. So, yeah. If you guys did like the video, please leave a like, comment down below, let me know what you guys think. Anything you guys want me to look at in the future here. And if you're new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button. But that's it. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.